Great. Welcome to Higher Africa Podcast.
Thank you, McDonald.
All right. So today I'm so honored. I'm so honored on many fronts because I'm talking to Dr. Misheck Yagontha Munthali, who is the director for Civic Education within the Ministry of, I forget this ministry.
Local government, unity and culture.
Yes.
Always
because of the changes of
local government, unity, culture.
Culture, yes. Local government, unity and culture. Yes. So I'm excited to have you today to talk about specifically the theme of development, resources, and Africa. And we wanted to explore whether the African resources are a blessing or a curse to the continent. So I'm excited to have you today.
My pleasure.
Join me in this show. So, just to give you a bit of an explanation of what we want to discuss so that you understand that beforehand, we want to explore the paradox of a resource-rich African remaining underdeveloped. And we want to challenge the narrative of the resource curse, examining the structural, governance, and leadership issues and unpack unutilized or underutilized resources, be it natural, human, or digital, and highlight actionable path African leaders, but also institutions, but also just the general population can take to unlock developmental progress grounded in pan-Africanism and the spirit of Umunthu, which is our shared humanity and interdependency. So let's start from here. And I want to start with likely a hard question. Is Africa's worth its biggest weakness? Is it that because we have the resources? Is that our weakness? And I'm asking this because everywhere in Africa where we have resources, likely you have people fighting. If you have minerals, if you have
gold
and all these things, right?
Yeah.
You have people fighting.
Yeah.
Is our resources our curse? Let's start from there.
Yeah, so I hear you. And actually, there's a word for it that Africa has got a lot of resources. And actually, I'll be putting statistics to that as we go into this chat. So to say that our resources are also at the same time our curse is actually to oversimplify a very complex situation. We call these natural resources. It means Africa's natural endowments. When nature, or in Africa, we can say when God, Cheuta, created Africa or continents, in that wisdom of nature, it already decided that Africa should have all these wealth that are underground. And therefore, it could not have been a mistake. So the resources that Africa have are not a mistake. It is the systems above, the ground, the systems that are either present or weak that lead to situations that you are describing. So in other places, even right here in Africa, we'll be quoting places where the resource is also a blessing. A good example is Botswana. With proper institutions, with proper governance, with proper structural reinforcement mechanisms, the resources are actually a big blessing that can catapult Africa to the same level of development like the West or anybody else. Because those that have developed, be it USA, be it European countries, be it now Japan, they have relied on the natural endowments that were found within their continent. So we need to do the same.
Yes.
Yes.
And the reason we want to talk about this, and I'm so excited to talk about this and High Africa, because the mindset of this podcast is around Africa. We believe Africa has potential. We believe Africa has the right resources that can be utilized. But also one of the biggest things is that we believe that what will take Africa out of the current status of challenges and all that is not the status quo of just aid, but is leveraging the existing resources. So we're going to talk about that. And that's more about the pan-Africanism understanding of Africa for Africa.
Yes.
And pushing that narrative saying, yes, partners are important and we'll work with partners.
Yes.
But the African mindset and philosophy has to be embedded. Can you speak to me about the philosophy that, how do we have to change our philosophy within the continent? Because I think as of now, we're not sure who we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before I come into that space, I just want to belief and move from belief to make it a bit of a fact that Africa has resources.
Yes, I think let's just talk about the resources.
Yes.
What do we have?
Yes, so I'll begin by talking about Africa as we speak today holds about 30% of world's global mineral reserves. So that's a fact that anybody can look at the moment. Algeria and Angola are some of the major world oil exporters out there. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are top cocoa producers. Africa has a lot of solar potential that can be harnessed, and it is touted that the Sahara Desert can produce solar potential that can power the world. Just the heat and the vastness of the Sahara Desert. Right now, when you say, I'm coming from sub-Saharan Africa, it's like you are the poor of the poorest. It's like that is taken like a curse, but the Sahara can be turned into the solar powerhouse of the world. And that's in Africa. It's not in the cold West.
Yes.
Africa has 60% of world's uncultivated arable land. 60%. Out there, they have got frozen fields. Ours never freezes. We can grow things 24/7, all year round. 60% of arable land. So we can feed the world, and even in the upper world that has not yet been discovered. But all that potential. The Congo Basin is the world's second largest rainforest of the world. I could go on and on. For example, Africa's population is under 60%. I mean, its youth is under 25. So a lot of our population is under 25. So we've got what we call the youth demographic dividend. So to say the truth, we've got a lot of things that Africa can turn for its advantage. Now you touched on, is aid the answer? A lot of development scholars have said we need to rethink the issue of aid. Actually, there is a writer, Dambiso Moyo, talks about dead aid.
Dead aid, yes.
The fact that a lot of our leaders have been told to look forward to aid, they have closed their eyes to what is potentially already there for them to exploit. So what is in the ground, because we cannot see it, we don't see it as worth. We look forward to monetize the economy, money. We've received $5 billion, we've received that, forgetting the trillions of dollars that we're failing to exploit.
Wow, that's amazing. And I agree with you that that's the change of mindset that we need to start looking at, specifically if we are now to think about the resources that are there. But let me go back to what we have. I think Africa needs to redesign the development agenda in terms of what we need to do as the prerequisites, as the ground floor, before we start talking some of the things that we talk about right now. And I'm talking about this in this way. We need to think about, one, the Arab land you've talked about.
Yes.
And we need to start thinking to say, if this is our competitive advantage globally, how do we double down on this? If it's Sahara, which sometimes we think it's our case.
It's like a dead thing.
It's like a dead thing.
Dead land. Nothing can be out of it.
If we could make sure that we push solar panels there and be able to take advantage of that heat and power the global north and the rest of other countries, even within Africa itself, it means this is who we are. So it becomes the bigger picture for Africa and say this is how we chart the way forward for development. Because the way development has happened over the years, it has been reactive development, where we develop like a bridge because someone died when they were crossing the river. We are fixing, we're trying to come up with a hospital somewhere because some people have died around that vicinity. But not front-loading the development.
We invest in maybe viral road pharmaceuticals because of COVID. No. We must pre-think the arrival of the pandemic. We must think ahead before a situation or scenario happens. So linking to resources, I'll tell you this. The challenge with Africa is the narrative of who we are is not with us. The narrative about our identity is in the hands of the developed West. So beginning with the scramble for Africa, the Belgium conference, where Africa was divided into nations. To begin with, they divided us to say you are different people. When Europe thinks like a bloc,
and they have one currency.
North Africa thinks like North America thinks like a bloc.
Yes.
Now the vastness of India, But
Yes.
for us, instead of a unified Africa, we already are divided into tiny, tiny nations. So we don't look at the reserves, the resource worth of Africa for Africans. We look at it for tiny little nations with multiple currencies. That's already we are divided. And also when the powers that be were dividing Africa, they said we were an underdeveloped Africa. They actually used the terminology, the dark continent. But why would anybody scramble for a dark continent? That's the questions we didn't ask. They talk about the narrative of fighting natives. How many wars, serious wars, have been fought in the West? World War I, World War II. These were never our wars.
Yeah.
People died in millions, but the books talk about the fighting tribes of Africa.
Tribes.
To scare people, to create a narrative that out of Africa it's war, it's dark. They align the darkness to our color, the beautiful color that we have. So we forget the vastness of our worth by the narrative of a colonizer.
That's a powerful one. So let me dig deeper on that one.
Yes.
How do we rewrite the story? I think the story can be written in multiple ways, but in terms of what is out there, I've seen some Pan-African literature that has started to create like a new wave of thinking, but I still think with the age of AI, I'll bring in a bit of AI there.
Yes.
AI is capturing the documentation that is available online, and most of the documentation has painted Africa as the problem and not a solution within itself, has painted the Africa as a disorganized state, as a disorganized continent, the darkness you're talking about, you can't do anything in Africa, Africans are confused people or anything like that. How can we create content and make that content influence our narrative across the world?
So that also touches on the rewriting the narrative, rewriting the textbooks, rewriting the history. A lot of the things we learn have been written for us.
Yes.
We are consuming literature or scholarly world that was written for us. It is time for Africa to tell its stories. So our intellectual people must revisit the textbooks. They must revisit the oral narrative that is out there. But also, for example, the developmental theories. The aid didn't just come. It was researched out of a theory which we call dependency theory.
Yeah, the dependency theory. Yeah.
Create an African that is dependent on the white for everything, from medical, from pharmaceuticals, from agriculture and everything. Everything we do, the machinery and everything is imported from there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we cannot take advantage of technology and, leapfrog a number of steps and develop things ourselves. The technology that speaks to Africa, the technology that taps on the wisdom and intellect of Africans.
Yeah.
The technology that taps on our resources. I'll tell you this, apart from the weather of the desert, solar panels can be put anywhere in Africa.
Yeah.
We just go and put it on the barren, maybe mountains where we're not farming. The solar panels will work for us. Whereas Israel is thriving in agriculture using salty water, we have a lot of fresh water that goes wasted every minute as we speak. So it is the narrative, because we've not been programmed to think about what wealth are we draining off when we're talking of wasting all this water. The case of Malawi, freshwater body, Lake Malawi, draining into Shira River, draining into Indian Ocean. Nobody really taps into it that much to develop a lot of industrialized agriculture. So we look to the West for all the solutions. It's time we began to look inward.
Yeah.
The most sustainable solutions for Africa must be hatched from within.
Yeah.
It will not be easy, it will not be overnight, but it is the challenge that we must confront. The oils, the minerals, the human resource, the human capacity that is within Africa should begin to save Africa. one of the things that the West and other powers have done is to divide us.
Yeah.
So they have gone for a few amongst us, and they have corrupted them. They have even influenced the regime change, and they have corrupted those, and those have become a bigger slave master among us, speaking on behalf of the colonizer. Of course, we cannot always talk about colonization. It happened in the past.
It moved on.
But we cannot run away from the repercussions.
Repercussions.
The after effect, like after an earthquake, there's always the after effect of the earthquake. So these are the things that we must confront, define them by what they are, and begin to create another narrative. The African philosophy, the African solutions, the African way of doing things.
Amazing.
Sure.
How do you reconcile the idea of globalization in the light of pan-Africanism? Because the idea that we're a global nation, like a global village, through internet and the rest of it, has brought this thinking among us to say our culture, our values are not woke these days.
Yes.
But whatever that is being accepted globally is what it is. So because we're a global village, we have to align as a village.
Yes.
Versus the pan-Africanism. I have my theory.
Yes.
And in a quick way, I would say, I wonder what an empowered person can say in a room where everyone there in that room is powerful. So if Africa is not empowered, then when we're saying we are part of a global village, are we a follower or are we a contributor? So I have that theory. But I want you to reconcile these two theories of pan-Africanism and the globalization, and how we have to reconcile but also safeguard Africa.
So a very good learning point from that is to take the case of USA and China, the rise of China. China around 1964, thereabout, they were not as competitive to US as they are today.
Yes.
But what China did and has done over time has been deploying its human resource to go to the United States of America and learn as much as they could learn and absorb from the US or European philosophy or learning centers. But what they've done right and which Africa hasn't done right is everything they learned when they went to China was contextualized to the China context. Anything that they learned did not just learn and borrow and paste in China, because it's not about what works in US and then you take it wholesome and bring it to China. Similarly, Africa has a lot to appreciate and benefit from the global world. We don't need to reinvent the wheels. But it's not about over-worshipping the global narratives. As I keep talking about narratives. Hollywood, for example. Everything you see in the films of America is taken as the way of life.
It is defined as the way things are supposed to be, but it's not.
It makes us reject our own wisdom, our own intellect. And you know, anything that is not grounded on who you are collapses. Yeah. It's like a building, a multi-story building that does not have a deep foundation. So Africans, we need to understand our philosophy, understand our identity, who we are, what is it that makes us who we are, and then what can we borrow and learn from the global world and contextualize to who we are. We don't have to reject and uproot everything that we are and say, no, we're going to be like Americans. We are not. There are certain things that we cannot say will behave like this. So it's about creating acceptance of ourselves. Even the issue of pan-Africanism, even the issue of Umunthu, these have been more of buzzwords. And they have not reached a tangible definition and action point. When we say pan-Africanism, what do we mean? When we say our youth from across all the nations of Africa come together, speak like the youth of Africa, not the youth of Malawi, the youth of Gambia, the youth of Zambia. You are the youth from Africa. Create solutions as youth of Africa.
Yeah.
You are the leaders. You have been drawn from all over Africa to come into one space. You are not from West Africa. You're not from South Africa. You're not from... You are from Africa. You are on this space for 2 days. Create solutions for Africa. So the Western powers has divided even our leaders to say you are from West Africa, therefore you look more to France. You are from Southern Africa, therefore look more to Britain. You are from this side, look more to America. Now there's even a scramble for China.
So
an African is divided, like, who do I align with? Instead of we are Africans, we align first, we write our script, and those that come to us on our own defined conditions. This is our assignment.
Amazing. No, you have eloquently addressed this matter of identity. But I wanted to say something, maybe to the camera, because people don't understand when it comes to world politics. Politics in the case not of parties, but politics of governments and even of blocks. When the European bloc is operating, they of course they have battles within, but they agree on the principle of dominance. Yes. When USA is also operating, they can disagree internally, but they agree on one thing: we are a superpower, and we are alleging ourselves to the flag and the rest of those things. There's that element that is missing within the continent of loving the continent, then loving your country, loving your people within that country, and loving yourself as a person. I know we discussed this idea of talking about discussing the concept of, if I was born in this X place, what does that mean for me? We'll talk about that in more detail, but I wanted you to unpack identity. And I wanted you to speak to why we don't see how the global north, the way, I don't know how this was defined, the global north as a global south.
Global south. And the global north as a power, and the global south as a poverty symbol.
But yeah, we have divided these things. Now, my issue is, I think you've spoken about this. A slave who has been empowered to think that they are not a slave, but to tell their friends that, no, we're not slaves. We're okay. This has happened through
several
processes of sharing culture. That's why people don't understand how UK and Britain uses sports to control how we view sports and football. That's why everyone has a team.
And they're supporting Premier League. Yes.
Don't understand how USA has doubled down on their entertainment, Hollywood, and created a culture where if you don't act as a Hollywood, you are not. Right? Therefore, we judge our movies, we judge everything else based on that lens. Similarly with football, we also do the same. And we have not seen how China is also getting into this race. And they've created a narrative of how business is supposed to be done. And if you're not crazy in how you move around and how you move fast as they do, you're so out of the space. Speak to the issue of identity. Who are we?
So the only challenge is that our identity linked to Africa, the narrative out there which we must challenge is you are linked to an identity that's looked at as inferior. And I'll tell you, there's nothing inferior about being African. Some Africans are the ones that are driving the Premier League, the sports that we are glued to in Europe. In France, you find that lots of those top-notch players come from Africa. So now they are playing in the African France League or European League or whatever. Then they are glorified as heroes. Some of the great movie stars, music stars in US are blacks,
and they're coming
with their lineage from Africa. So now the identity is American, yet they're still black, and then they're treated as heroes. You know, so we need to do something with our state of economy. Because at the moment, when we link our identity to Africa, it's linked to a kind of poverty. But as I've said, we've got mineral resources, we've got water potential, we've got land potential, we've got human capital. All this, the rising of artificial intelligence, digital economy, the power of the youth and their innovation, if we can harness all that and begin to tap into the true worth of Africa, then we'll begin to say, if you want to come to business with Africa, These are our terms.
Yes.
We will also create our own movie industry. Nigeria is succeeding.
Yes.
Silicon Valley. The tech industry of Kenya.
Yes, they're called Savannah.
Yeah, Savannah.
Silicon Savannah.
It's beginning to... North Africa,
Yeah.
Egypt. So we're beginning to catch up. So we need to bring ourselves, begin to harness the technological advantage, the agricultural advantage, all the solar potential that we have, all the scientific potential that we have,
Yeah.
the minerals. Let the minerals work for Africa. And we'll begin to say, okay, come to the table, let us discuss. At the moment, they give us a condition. It's either you take this or you don't. And because we have not tapped from our potential, we pick the scraps from the tables of the rich. But we are also a very rich continent if we look inward. We've always looked out through the dependency theory. But we need to bring in what I call the systems and the institutions. When you talk about the development of Singapore,
Yeah.
the development of China, those are called social democracies. They are not the democratic philosophy of America. Social democracy. There are certain things the powers of government says, you have to do this in order for us to go that side. So maybe we need also to begin to rethink the kind of democracy that we are practicing for Africa. Is it suited for our context as Africans?
Wow. You have touched on so many elements. So I'm trying to unpack that as well to make sure that everything is covered.
Yes.
The idea of having resources and then having richness and redefining our minds to say we are rich and go to the table of negotiation and say, we're here not as beggars,
Yes.
we're here as partners
Yes. In development.
in development.
Yes.
Because we have something
Yes.
and you have something.
Yes.
So we are partners.
Yes.
That's the first layer that we have to embrace. And thank you so much for pointing that out. The second layer I'm seeing here is more to do with internally. What is it that is working? What is it that can work contextually? So you've brought in now the issue of governance, which I wanted to go to.
Yes.
Is governance, systems, and how this, institutions, and how this interlink to create processes that are legit. Now, speaking to this, I want you to interrogate this idea that Africa is not developed because of its poor governance and weak institutions. What happens there?
So it's a yes and no, but a yes to a very big extent.
Okay.
Everything is about leadership. And by leadership, I want to emphasize the point that I'm not just talking about heads of states or presidents. I'm talking about leadership at every cell of development.
And before you go on, I wanted to emphasize there because people forget every time they talk about leadership. I used to be like that person who think when we see leadership is failing, we're only looking at one person who has a bit of maybe challenges here and there, forgetting that at every stage of life, leadership, from family, there's leadership. From communities, leadership. It goes up the ladder.
So I wanted to talk about the spiral role of leadership. So society begins with a household. So a household is a society. And several households create a community. Communities create a district, like in Malawi. Several districts create a region, and several regions create a nation. The household has a leader. So under that household, whether there are 4 people, there must be a leader that must say what are our developmental aspirations as a household. Because if a household is poor, does not harness its full capacity, the community will reflect the poverty of the household. And if a community structure, that these are traditional and religious or whatever structures at community level, if they don't pull to the strength of their leadership, the community will falter. And therefore, this is the challenge of Africa. The leaders from school level all the way to the highest level of the state tend not to pull to the best of their abilities. In developed countries, for example, I will challenge you in developed countries. Let me just use the example of USA. There are a lot of people that punch holes in Trump. But there's very limited that Trump can change because America right now is a nation of institutions, and nations of statutes that have been there, and they govern how one can do what within limits of what changes you can make.
And even states, they have their own statutes that they govern in that particular state. So he doesn't have power in that state.
So we need to have strengthened leadership and governance. And our leadership must again look inward. Our leaders must not embarrass us by becoming beggars from fellow leaders. We can learn, Europe to be where they are today, Singapore to be where they are today, China, they have had to come from difficult moments. What is it that they have done well in order to challenge their status to become where they are today? Our challenges can be our learning point. Our difficulties can be our place of recognition and say, we accept we're in this space. It's not a good space, but we are going to move from deep pit of shame to become big and better as Africa. So African leaders must use their leadership potential to galvanize, support, provide creative and fertile environment in which people's ideas can thrive. The challenge with us is sometimes we fear competition. We fear brilliant ideas. Leaders sometimes fear competition instead of embracing diversity of minds. If you have creative ideas, give them the space. Where everybody is thinking that like a leader, then nobody is thinking. We need to create that diversity of thought, innovation, create innovation hubs, startups, create spaces where the youth, women, everybody can participate in creating the future of tomorrow. That's the Africa we want.
Wow, this is amazing.
That's the Africa we want.
Wow, this is amazing. So you're bringing in so many ideas, and I'm trying to process them to make sure that that list is consumable, right, to the audience, so that we pick pieces, one mbamu after another.
One swallowable piece. Somebody said, "How do you eat an elephant?" One piece at a time. But of course, it's an African proverb.
So we're not eating the actual elephant.
We're not eating the elephant. If you're tackling a problem, you must tackle it one step at a time. You don't have to take a big chunk and then, you lose it or you get overwhelmed in the process.
I want us to go to the unused resources and start thinking of how we can start using them. But before we go there, you've spoken something that is powerful, and that is family. The ideology of Umunthu came in because of how Africans view each other as communities that can work together, sharing ideas, sharing resources, and building each other. Before the Scramble of Africa, that conference that happened, and the gold rush of those days, and how most of the African countries were messed up by the other powers then, because there was no control as things are now. Of course, there's control, but there's a bit of challenges that are happening as well in the space. People had this. We were fighting. We could, tribe, but we could do trade. But who brought slave trade? It's because of the demand of human resource to go out there. But we were not initially doing slave trade. It was introduced to us. Now, I want you to speak to a family, because I think, and this is my view, the moment you destroy a family, you have destroyed a nation. And by family in this context I'm talking about, people that are born from one space and they're agreeing and they're creating, in whatever form, they've agreed to stay together and they're working together towards saying that we're partners. The family has been weak over time. And that, sometimes I blame it to Hollywood, but that narrative has brought in dysfunctional kids, dysfunctional mindsets at local level, where people don't adhere to any principle, and people are willing to just lose themselves because they don't listen to any authority, because family was a symbol for authority. And it has been a symbol for authority. But because that authority element has been removed out of the picture, everything goes to, let's go to the courts, let's go to this, let's go to that, let's go. Speak to
the family.
Why the family has to be strengthened?
Yeah, so I will go back to saying that the family, the household, the family is the smallest set of society. And speaking from an African context, Africa, particularly Africa in its blackness, I should say so.
Yeah.
The family has been very solid because for us, family is not just my father, my mother, and my siblings. For the African context, the family has been an extended family.
Yes.
Somebody loses their parents or whatever, the bigger family embraces. So the concept of orphan and orphanhood was not there in the original setup of
Yes.
So families were actually strong, with strong family leaders as people that watched over their clan. They were the guidance of moral authority, how you could speak, how you could behave, and so on and so forth. The modern life, so to say, the movie industry, the Hollywood and others have actually attacked the family. And so you find that the family now is more nuclear. It's just between you, wife, and your kids. But beyond that, most in trying to make lives meet, the parents are working more than they're home. So the kids are raising themselves, maybe via the screens or the cartoons.
Yes.
Or you bring help, a nun or whoever, who bring other values other than yourself. And then also the bigger community, instead of being a community that is helping you raise the kid, they say, okay, whose kid is that one? They don't care. So the bonds that held a family together are now very weak. This is now we need to think of what kind of collective values, moral values, we need to introduce that will now bring the Africanity together. That the moment you are a child, you are in a community, you walk out, you should be responsible, not just to your parents, not just to your household, but to the community. And out of the community, to the district, to the nation. So the overarching terminology is patriotism. So everybody must be raised patriotic to their community, to their households, to their flag, to their virtues. And when we talk of flag, we should also begin to talk about African flag.
Yes.
Because these scattered flags are now making us weak. That's why we must also talk about the African currency. We must talk about the borderless Africa, the African passport. We must talk about the African army. We must talk about the African police. We must talk about the African judiciary. Huge. And these things now that we are calling states now are now governance, the state governor of Malawi. But Africa must have its one huge state of Africa.
And in that way,
it's all huge airline, huge currency, huge military, huge bank. The ADB relies also a lot on IMF and World Bank, and we are defeated from the word go. The African Development Bank must be financed by the gold, the diamond, the resources of Africa. And it must design loans that do not enslave Africa, loans that develop Africa. This is the Africa we need to go to.
wow.
With its own music industry, with its own movie industry, with
Yes.
its own sports, with its own stories.
Wow.
That's the Africa we need.
Now, this is powerful. And thank you for being passionate
Yes.
in your explanation, because I think we have lost passion.
Yes.
We've lost passion in who we are.
Yes.
So everyone else is scrambling to go outside. Recently, we just heard that I think us, Malawi and Zambia, there is a bit of an extra fee that we have to pay for us to go to America.
Yes.
And in some quarters, people are lamenting, complaining, because maybe we have not found a way to create our space as our space and enjoy it the way it is, which is powerful.
So I should not lose that point you've raised. There are those that are saying, okay, certain countries need to pay or wait longer for their visas to be approved, or even pay more bonds in millions. in order to be in America.
Weird. You have to
And
pay
a
board.
lot of development partners or donors are moving out.
Yeah.
For some of us that believe in social enterprise, we say that's the best thing that could have ever happened to Africa. We will hit the bottom rock. When you hit the bottom rock, there's there's nowhere else you can go. So you've hit the bottom rock, so you rise from there. Let's hit the very lowest we can hit and begin to say, who are we? What is it that we can use from our own? It will be humbling, but that's who we really are. And we begin to build. We'll begin to look, my voice is inward. What can we tap from our youth? What can we tap from our sportswomen and men? What can we tap from our army? What can we tap from our engineers? What can we tap from our youth? Everybody has to come on board. No one left behind for developing of Africa. These thin theoretical boundaries that were imposed on us are what they are, theoretical boundaries. Africa is one huge continental block. Even if we went to geography, it's one African plate. Continental plate. So we were apportioned Africa as our home. So all of us must look at this and say, I must do something and develop this Africa.
Amazing. Wow. I don't know what to say there, because you have explained well and eloquently on the power, the importance of allowing some of these circumstances to happen, hitting the rock bottom. And you know what happens when you are in survival mode? That's when you work. As of now, because every time you cry, you start looking for resources outside with conditions, and then you come back and then you're conditioned, you're failing to develop because you can't do X, because X will not align with the principle of Y. It becomes a bit of an issue. But I'm happy that you have expounded that, and I'm sure people get it. And I think for us, for Africa, and now people see us more talking about technology. But this discussion is important. It's important because whether we're building technology, whether we're just building a business that doesn't require technology and just doing it in whatever place where you are, one thing you can know is that the status quo of the dependency syndrome of Africa affects you. That's why if you're a startup, you cannot raise money because there's no money in Africa to be raised. So you have to go outside and you'll be conditioned. Similarly, if you're doing business, if you want to expand, you fail to do anything because you have to import everything. That's where you understand the value of having a strong Africa that is able to represent you in whatever field you are. So that's a powerful one. Okay, let's move on to issues of the untapped resources. And I think you have said some of those things there already, but I wanted you to look into issues to do with we have tourism in Africa, which is big. There's so many spaces. Once you go, Mauritius is a different ballgame. Once you go, even in Malawi, different ballgame. We have good spaces. With TikTok these days, Victoria Falls. With TikTok these days, you're able to see places, and you're asking yourself, "Is this the place in Africa?" It's like, but we have those things. We have solar energy, which you have mentioned. We have data. We have insights. Local knowledge that can be used in health, medical and stuff. Even how to do things. The blue economy, the cultural industry. How rich our cultural industry is. But look at us right now. All these things. Addressing is
the bigger culture.
The bigger culture, right, has dominated the lower cultures, right? But if you look at these things, if you look at now Nollywood, you have mentioned the African financial technologies that are rising, the creative economy, like building some more spaces, like spaces that we have been building in Malawi, like even Africa, the podcast Malawis and the rest of it. The rural economies, the smallholder potential. Issues like what do we need to do to connect these dots? Because they're scattered.
So one of the economists may have to come in, but whose economy are we teaching? Because also here the World Bank and the institutions have taught us their economy. That okay, you have to devalue this, you have to do that. Why Africa is considered poor is because we are referring to monetized economy.
Yes.
The dollar economy or pound economy and the like. But Africa has land. You find that a household you might think is poor, they'll tell you this is our 10 hectares. Given to them by their parents, 10 hectares. To them, they'll tell you they are poor. Go in developed countries and they'll tell you this 10 hectares is equivalent to I don't know how many millions of dollars. It is because we've not yet learned to look at resource worth. For us, land is not worth which we should now translate into other kinds of worth. Our biggest challenge is I don't have money in the account, therefore I'm poor. But we go out and you tell me all this land up to where it ends in the valley, it's my land. You are a millionaire. Okay. Because you can turn that into a lot of worth.
I want to catch you there. You continue with the thought process, but I want to agree with you wholeheartedly that even people that are watching us right now, if they don't have money in their account, they are stressed that they are poor. Because our definition of being rich is tied only to having liquidity in the account. Prospects are not resources, is not being rich or money. Even the available resources you have. So someone can have even so many properties, but they'll be worried, stressed, and going to the hospital because
it's because we are using the idea of World Bank and IMF that if you are to be rich, therefore you must be above $2 a day.
You have to have that actual.
Nobody has quantified what it means to have 10,000 trees of pine tree in my yard.
Yes. Because you have that.
I can plant that and say, come.
And you can liquidate
quantify
that at any moment.
And I can get loans at the back of my pine trees. I can have 50 heads of cattle. And I'll be called poor because in my bank account, I may not even have an account.
Yes, and you'll be poor.
I'm a millionaire because I can back my loan based on my heads of cattle.
And you see how Africa was defined to be poor is based on not having the liquidity, the global liquidity. But if you go inside, you find that people, even in communities, they have land and everything like that.
So I want to pick on that thought.
Yeah.
If we go back to the original way how states used to trade, it was barter trade.
Yes.
It wasn't currency. There was no devaluation, right? I have 3 goats. I need 4 bags of maize or whatever. So no matter how many years it goes, as long as I've got 3 goats, he'll give me whatever amount of meat I need. No devaluation. Today, because of devaluation, for example, because of the monetized economy, our goods and properties are being taken for granted. Because somebody has $100 can pick, I don't know how many tons of tobacco. Because we've not come up on the terms of how Africa can trade with the West. We are only using a dollar term or a pound term, and they're taking things free because they decide
on how much
the international business market, how powerful is a dollar versus our products. But my beef in the factory is still the same 10 kgs of beef, which because of their powerful dollar, they're taking for free. So it is thefty, for example, to buy 10 kgs of beef in Malawi for $5. And we go to London and that same 10 kgs is bought at $30. It is thievery. And it's making African nations poorer on the basis of dollar term.
And the funny thing with this is that we have no control of the price. You know what happens when we have like we have a situation where we're selling our tobacco.
Yes.
Who decides on the price? In most cases, the buyer says
the seller has
based on international market.
So you spoke about ideas I don't want to lose. Data. Now data science is a very important field.
Yeah.
So you bring young minds from universities, you bring together and you say, okay, for 1 year, we want you to establish these kinds of data because data is facts. So that data, if they can harness it, they can sell data to companies. for decision making. They can sell data to Ministry of Health for health decision making. They can sell data, statistics to Ministry of Education to decide. So the youth can understand the issues of data and mobilize data as a business. Ideas. The power of an idea. An idea, well-natured, can turn a situation around to become a millionaire. So developed countries actually invest in the power of ideas. For us, we invest in, okay, before you can be given any loan, you must first of all prove that you deserve a loan. We don't invest in ideas. So we need to be thinking around all these issues and begin to invest in ideas.
Wow.
Yes.
You see, this discussion is a discussion that has to be taught to young ones. And I'm happy that we are documenting this. And I hope we will not lose the footage.
We better not lose.
We will not lose the footage. I'll have to safeguard this. Because, you see, the kids of today are growing up. And I'm transitioning to the youth now to talk about the youth and their role in building Africa, the African mindset, but also building the continent and then understanding how global worlds work so that they're not cheated to think things are just linear as they think. We need to, I don't know how cultural studies are being done now, but we need to start to rewriting these stories in the minds of the young ones and create a benchmark where they can say, I understand globalization. I understand what is happening out there. But when I come back and also understand my space, this is it. There's something that has started. There's a new trend right now. I'm not sure how if you check social media.
Sometimes it catches up with me.
Yes. There's a new trend.
Yeah.
So popular artists. I've seen who now? I've just forgotten the name. But this artist also plays in Fast and Furious. So I have someone who knows artists here. What would be the artist? Ludacris, yes. Ludacris and the bunch of other artists in the USA. They're coming back to what they're calling going back to their motherland. So they're getting passports.
Yes.
So they are always online showing their passports with their kids and saying, we have gone back.
Yes.
So we're connecting to our roots.
Yes.
I know most of our kids today will go to that level.
Yes.
They'll go there. They're going to face racism.
Yes.
Because I've said it.
Yes.
It happens. Racism is still there. There's a structural racism that you find yourself being. People are cutting jobs and you're the only black person out of that job. And everybody else is safe. When they see it and they come back and they start saying, okay, we need to rebuild what we have because this is all we have. So I want you to speak to the youth and the future of Africa. How can we build, because you've spoken about the youth leveraging data and the rest. How can we build this for the future?
So it's a very lengthy discussion. And Africa must win its youth. As I've said, over 60% of the African population is under 25. So Africa is a young nation. In other words, it has got everything to benefit from the youth energy, youth passion. So to begin with, the youth must accept Africa. A number of youth are willing to jump on the first plane and say, I'm an American, I'm now in Japan, I'm with us. They are more proud to be out of Africa.
And they will represent such country in a way that they have never even represented their own country.
Yes. So we have to win the youth back to Africa. And the youth represent tomorrow and today. How they are bridging the today and tomorrow through digital creativity. So the youth must take lead in challenging the traditional way of thinking and doing things in Africa. They must challenge us. I'm 52. So I'm slightly beginning to move out of the youth bracket because it ends, I think, in Malawi at 35 or thereabout.
35, yeah.
But in my mind, I'm very youthful in the sense that we must always challenge the narrative that defines who we are. So the youth must take initiative in tech hubs. They must take initiatives in Right now, I'll use the example of Malawi. We are exporting our youth to go to other countries to pluck tomatoes, to harvest oranges, right?
Yeah.
Because they have been on a flight and then they are being paid maybe $1,500 a month. It's okay. But if we fly them back and I have got my garden, they will not pluck those tomatoes.
They can't.
So the youth must say, how can we mobilize ourselves, use the land that we have, and become the owners of the estates, not the pluckers of tomatoes. And then process these, add value to these, and create real wealth and not just employment. You know, it's different to have money and it's different to be wealthy. So we need to program their minds not towards being rich, but towards being worth, because wealth is multi-generational. It will outlive you. It will actually outlive your sons, your children. It will save your grandchildren. Wealth creation is the path. So we must win the youth to begin thinking wealth, not being rich. And wealth requires working as teams. We must break the barriers of working alone, me alone. Share data, share knowledge, create apps, create all these digital frameworks that help Africa to break through and make it on the bigger scale.
Amazing.
Yes.
Wow. No, you've spoken so powerfully about this concept. And I wanted just to go through it as we're going to the other section. That kids that are coming in the space right now, because of globalization, they're seeing so many things, they're confused.
Yes.
Their sense of identity is lost. And that's painful. That's the first thing. The second thing is your generation.
Yes.
Because I'm not there yet.
Yes.
Has to, because I'm 35, so I'm closing my youth years to this year.
Yes.
There has to be delivered effort not to lose, because you have said we have to win our youth. And it's a powerful statement.
Yes.
We have to win our youth.
Yes.
When we go on social media and see the youth representing ideas that are not African, that are alien, without knowing that those ideas will lead them to some to death, some even to losing their sense of identity, and they will find themselves dealing with depression because they thought by aligning to these ideas, it means I'm okay, not knowing that you're just being used as a pawn in the bigger picture of global powers. If we win our youth and we tell them that love yourself, love your country, love your continent, be a youth that is willing to say, I will die for Malawi.
So
I will die for the country.
before I lose it there, because you've triggered a thought.
Yeah.
The way we're gonna win this is by the youth that have made a name outside Africa, and they're beginning to realize the importance of the African identity. They must use their worth to win Africa.
Yes.
So, for example, football heroes or stars out there must begin to build stadia in Africa. They must begin to build golf courses in Africa. Those that thrived in boxing, they must begin to bring top-notch boxing rings to Africa. The greatest swimmers, musicians, movie makers from Africa must begin to invest in Africa and create stars in Africa.
Yes.
And then we'll begin to do the reverse design that Africa not has the potential, but has the skill in motion.
Yeah.
It's not the potential. Potential, it means it's not lived. But Africans are already proving themselves in international markets. There are Africans in world global think tanks. One of our former vice chancellors, Langston Muhango, was part of the patents that developed fighter jets parts from Malawi.
From Malawi.
So it's not a potential, it's a lived experience, a skill and knowledge. So all those that are in diaspora, they must begin to say, I'm in Australia, I'm in Germany, I'm in this, and I'm an African, and I'm proud.
I agree. Saying we need to save Africa, saying we have to save our youth, saying we have to be pan-African, we have to have the spirit of Umunthu and everything is not enough if we're not willing to invest in that cause.
Yes.
Right? So that cause has to be safeguarded by people that are there. There are so many people who are out there, have resources, and they have seen.
Yes.
No matter how big I can be there,
Yes.
but I'll still be taken as a stranger in this land. It's very important to start seeing Africa as where you have to build your legacy. So legacy building has to be linked to your contribution to raising Africa from its sleep, to building the foundation, the fabrics of Africa, but also helping to saving the current generation, which is lost in these apps and just doing everything without knowing the value we have.
So we must also stop using buzzwords just because they sound good.
Yeah.
We must begin living the truth of those words. For example, we've talked about the most important aspect of Umunthu. You are because I am. I am because you are. Right? Nobody is an island. We need each other. No man is an island. We need each other. But you find that people go to South Africa and they say, you are Kwere, go back.
Yeah.
People go to this. So
within the same content.
Within the same content, the Umunthu philosophy is actually not practiced, but it's used as a buzzword in the conferences and stuff. Pan-Africanism. You Africans, you find yourself maybe in the West, you're at a conference, and you don't even work together, you don't even think together. And that's the place where you're supposed to show you are Pan-Africans. Pan-Africanists, you come from the same continent and you need to reason and think together. So buzzwords are not the thing we're looking for. We're looking for words that deliver. When we talk about borderless Africa, African Continental Free Trade Zone, all leaders must come together and say, when are we starting? What does this mean? We want Africa with one passport. Leaders come together. What will it look like? How are we going to enforce it? And so we must begin to action things forward for transforming Africa and not just be mentioning public words that sound good, but they don't mean anything. We are just moving on the same spot as Africa. And we are a laughing stock of all the continents. We need to challenge that and say, enough is enough. Let's collect Africa for Africans.
Wow, powerful. I will not say anything about that. That is enough in its own self. I want you to reflect on African leaders because you've spoken about that in your closing remarks of this discussion. But I wanted to make sure that you also speak to a couple of things. One is how can leaders strengthen institutions and policies, issues of contracts, transparency and innovation resources like funds, issues of education, digital and industry, policy alignment, the regional integration, which we're talking about, and you've highlighted that as well. I want you to speak to leadership because for me, what I see is people are happy with being sovereign within a country without thinking about Africa because that has given them liberty to do more and in terms of enrichment. So when you look at most of the African leaders, they've made it. They've made it. Once you are a leader and you're out there, when you look at that leader, you find that they're living well. Yeah. They have a lot of investment and so forth because the power of one person leading has given that kind of liberty. I would love Africa to be countries to be states, and then we find a way to connect and build something that is bigger so we can deal with the borders because that is costing us a lot of money. Today I was talking to someone else that I'm struggling to send money to which country is that? Ghana, right? Which is strange. It's within the continent. Yes. But I would not struggle to send money to America sometimes because it's because of the currency. But I want you to speak to leaders, policies, and these things that are defining us. Because the AU, people are always saying that it's toothless right now because of it doesn't have the power to control a state. What is, I know we have spoken about everyone is aligning to different superpowers, but what can leaders do now to start now building towards this dream?
So we've touched on it when we talked about leadership at every level.
Every session, yes.
So every day taking responsibility. But I want to say that In a way, a lot of our leaders have been captured by the powers that be. So you find that when leaders come in the space, most of them are self-serving. Serving their personal interests, less so the interests of the continent or of the nations. For me, I think the responsibility of every leader that comes into the space must be to leave a legacy of, I came into the space and I had a positive impact. And how do you create positive impact? Number one is to be the champion of the rule of law. The greatest challenge in Africa is the law seems to be for somebody else and not for me. Less so for leaders. So leaders think that, okay, the law can catch the less able, and then those that are aligned or linked to leaders are maybe safe. So the moment you begin to communicate that kind of a language, you've already created a problem. So leaders must walk the talk. Number two, leaders must create an enabling environment in which ideas can thrive. They must create an enabling environment in which corruption should not thrive. They should create an enabling environment in which technology must be allowed to harness the power of the youth to help us create innovations that help us in education, in agriculture, in healthcare, and what have you. In the West, some of the Western countries, I think I need to cite those that I like citing: Singapore, Finland, right? Norway. You hardly speak about crime because they've made wealth so even
decentralized,
so evened out
way, yes.
that if I forget a phone, what use is it for somebody to steal that phone when they can always
buy another one?
Pick something? What's the use of competing that my son or daughter is in that school when all schools are like the same?
Yes.
Of the same quality. Medical health care, what use is it of flying people to other countries when all medical institutions across the country are like the same, well-resourced? We need to fight for countries and not fight for individual benefits. That if something happens to me, okay, I'll fly out of the country to access education, to access health. How about the rest of the people? So we need to develop institutions, organizations, statutes that save Africa. And if Africa is saved evenly, even crime goes down. So people love their country. People have a lot of affinity for their country.
Yes.
So it also harnesses our patriotism. So leaders must be, they must not be self-serving. They must come into the space as leaders to transform their communities.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you for that on so many fronts.
Yes.
The challenge of creating a society that is so worth at the top of the pyramid, and then poor, so poor down there, is what is killing most of the African nations, and let alone we have these kind of disparities. That's why I was saying, when we think about one Africa, it compromises the wealth of others, because in their vicinity, they control, and they're okay. And people are happy to see others suffer because it pleases them that they define themselves to be at a different league. That's why it pains me when I see people distributing money to people. I want to give you money today. I want to do this today. Yes, it can help the person. But what we're doing is dignity.
Yes.
Dignity.
So the biggest welfare we can give to our people, by our people I mean African citizens, the biggest welfare is build their knowledge, build their skills, create opportunities, give them back their human dignity. There's no dignity in giving anybody cooking oil.
No, it's not.
Half liter, 1 liter, and then tomorrow they're back to you.
No, it's not.
There's no dignity in giving anybody a political party t-shirt.
No.
There's dignity in making them realize their inbuilt potential.
Yes.
They may not realize it tomorrow, but the moment they realize, I have this potential and I can do ABCD institutions, I can tap on ABCD and become that tomorrow. That's the biggest welfare. So we all need to fight, our leaders need to fight for that, whereby everybody can actualize their top-notch human nature-given potential. You believe with me, like I believe myself, that if it were not for the skills built in me, education skills, knowledge skills, global exposure, worldview, I wouldn't be in this space.
Yes.
But because somebody entrusted in me with the good education, it was rural education, not much, but the transformative power of knowledge and skills. Now you can think and reason and create things that can benefit you and others and society. That's what we need to invest in every child so they can actualize their full potential.
Amazing.
Yes.
Wow, we have covered so many things, and I want to. And this discussion is packed. It's packed, and I'm excited that we have started it. There's so many areas I would go to, but I want to make sure that we also center this on these issues that we have started discussing development resources in Africa. But I want us to already think about other topics that we could talk about that could help Africa.
Yes.
One of it is systems, and I'm learning about this now, but I'm coming to believe that the world does not work with one institution.
Yes.
So an institution speaks to another institution, so you create more or less like a system. And when you are thinking, in most cases, there's a problem of thinking in one institution and not thinking systematically.
Yes.
Because system thinking now breaks that barrier and creates one unity. And that, at a bigger scale,
Yes.
talks of how we think country and not continent.
Yes.
And how we don't change the word continent and just say Africa is a country and work as one. So that we can create and coordinate our systems and become one. I would love to discuss this at a later stage, to break into what defines an institution, what defines many institutions, what defines coordination, and what defines now a collective action.
Yes.
What other areas do you think would be important for Africa?
So before I zero in there, I just have to follow up one quick thought. And this is, what's the role and place of China?
Yes,
and other bigger powers in the situation of the development of Africa.
Yes. No. Before you come in, let me help you to set the background to this. In the meantime, we recognize that Africa is still going through the same. If we go back in history, there was the scramble of Africa, where Africa was divided. Then there has been the scramble of different resources. There was a gold rush at some point. There's been a human capital rush, I would call it, when Africa was a source of human capital because Africans were powerful, energetic, so they would be taken as slaves. And these are the slaves that later on turned up to have their freedom. And what happened later on, the people the blacks that we see that are in different countries, which is okay. There's no problem with that. Now, there's a problem with it then. But we call it, forgot the term, but beyond the democracies, we still find the pockets of control and lack of independence of countries within Africa, which has also resulted in the division of Africa, and that has been fueled by different states scrambling for the same. Now, today, if you're talking of the deals that America through Donald Trump is working on, what is happening? He's exchanging immunity with rare earth, and it's not a phenomena that is hidden. Countries are going to him to say, we have rare earth, protect us, give us peace, and you can help us to mine this so we can be partners. This is what has become of us. So there are other entities, the BRICS, where we have China, Russia, and the rest.
South Africa.
South Africa also now having a different camp, and these camps. What is their role to the future of Africa? Because for me, I still believe I still think, I stand be corrected, that we still have that scramble of Africa, but in different format. Over to you.
So there used to be Cold War. It was either you're for United States of America or you're for Russia. That was the global geopolitics. Now it's exactly as you've said. It's the dollar USA with its allies in Europe versus the BRICS. Brazil, China, Russia, and South Africa and the like. And then African states are trying to align either with BRICS or with that. Africa doesn't need that. in my view. This is now my personal view.
Yeah.
As I have said, Africa needs to define what it wants.
Yeah.
Africa needs to define its potential. Africa needs to say, how do we get an investor who is interested in investing in Sahara Desert solar potential? And once we invest in that potential and we harness it, how do we split the proceeds? Doesn't matter whether that investor comes from America, from Germany, or from China.
It's okay.
We have all these mineral resources that we need to mine as Africa. Remember, as Africa. And when we mine, we don't need these things to go to Beijing, to go to Berlin, to go to... We want to establish a processing center. For gold, it will be in South Africa. For copper, it will be in Zambia. For this, but for Africa, who wants to join us in this? And once we sell, how do we split the profit?
The process, yeah.
Proper gentleman business deals. For now, you find that the interests of China, the interests of America, whatever, in Africa, is not always sincere. There are always self-interest behind those.
Yeah, and they're clear.
They are clear. So you find that maybe China will build infrastructure, roads, rail, and the like, and the way they craft the date is they know maybe this country will fail, and therefore we will reposition this. That's not as sincere. If you want to help someone who is in problems, you don't have to pretend to help. You've got to help. So Africa has received a lot of pretenders who are trying to help Africa with a lot of their own self-interest. Africa needs people that can come on the table, and Africa says, we have got these resources. We want development on the following conditions. We win, you win. You cannot ask for an investor and say, I take it all. But it is completely bizarre for an investor to come from somewhere and invest in our minerals and get 85% of wealth from Africa, and they give us 15% because they invested. That's stealing from us. The least that can happen is 49, 51. 51% in the interest of Africa. The Botswana diamonds have always been 50-50. The boys. Even 50-50 is too much for an investor. It's too much.
You're supposed to get maybe
they are
30,
already
20.
developed. We could be talking of 60-40. 60% for Africa because Africa is catching up. 40% because they are helping us catch up. If you help us build anything and you want to tap something, 30 to 40% is fair. But you find that they are giving a poor Africa, they are extracting resources and giving Africa 15% or 10%. Continue to steal from the poor Africa and call Africa poor. It is unfair. It is not good. It is unethical. So this has to be challenged. And this has to be said openly to them that Africa is not poor. You are stealing from Africa. And you keep stealing from Africa and you call it poor. It is not correct. So these are the things, the structural issues that we need to challenge. Having said that, I think I can now say that, in the future episodes, we need to discuss that more. That what's a win-win scenario? Africa needs everybody and everybody needs Africa. But what's the win-win developmental investment scenario that we need to be talking about? What will be the role of a genuine African unity? Organization of African Unity, or AU. It's been a generational, decades of definition, a beautiful definition, organization of African, or African states. What's a genuine definition of that? And we need people that can genuinely believe in that and build that. African Development Bank, is it developing Africa? Or is it still helping the powers that be to impoverish Africa? So we need to come up with a bank that truly speaks for Africa. I can repeat, but we need a centralized system. For me, it is the passport, it is the currency, it is the military, it is the courts, it is the passport. Currency that must drive Africa. Once we have those, then we'll begin to say we have a borderless Africa, we have a governance structure, we have the power that can negotiate, even business interests for Africa. We also need to look at the role of youth, the role of artificial intelligence, the role of digital economy, and the enforcement of the Africa Free Trade Business Law. These are the things that we need to continue following up and then have these conversations and begin to harness the views and ideas from Africans wherever they are watching us from, because Africa is for us to win, and the youth are for us to win, and everybody must participate in the development of Africa.
Amazing.
Thank you.
No, you have explained eloquently. I don't know what to say there, but maybe a few thoughts as we're closing is that I am a big believer of action. And I think for people in diaspora that believe in this kind of discussions or believe in this kind of thought processes, and they believe that there's a role of patriotism that can still be invested within the continent, we're happy to have a chat, because action is connecting different minds across the globe.
Yes.
And I would love to be connected to different people across the continent, and then start having these conversations and start speaking boldly,
Yes.
strongly,
Yes.
and even have a say to how some of the institutions that are governing Africa can transform and change.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, the role of awareness,
Yeah.
helping to teach, to make sure that there's a new culture of respecting Africa. It pains me every time I go on social media. People feel better
Yes.
to trash their own country, to trash their own leaders,
Yeah.
to trash everything about their country. Yes, things might not work, but there is a way you can constructively contribute,
Yeah.
but also speak as a patriotic person.
Yes.
It pains me to see that it has become a norm,
Yeah.
and the free speech and this whole the presence of smartphones around, and kids now having spaces to just talk anything without proper information. People can talk without having no repercussion of what they've said. We have lost opportunity to build. So people are happy to invest in discussions.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do this even at a larger scale with different communities to make sure that we start having these discussions, we start challenging status quos for the benefit of Africa. Nothing else.
Yes.
Not for the benefit of anyone else, but for the benefit of Africa. So in future episodes, I agree with those elements you've shared. The technology and the rest, because it ties into the generation that is 60% within the continent. How do we make sure that we deal with the foundational elements, education, awareness, and civic educate the mindset for people that to see that this is the direction we have to go, and then move in that. So for people that if you're excited with this kind of conversation, you want to join in, you want to be part of this conversation, even with Doc here, we're happy to host you, or happy even to do it a virtual engagement. Because for me, what I think is we have different roles to play.
Yes.
I'm not in the military, I'm not in any space, but we have this space and we have a voice to speak.
Yeah, as we wind up in these final thoughts, I just want to amplify what you're saying. Like, I think we need, in this space, right here where we are, an Africa Connect voice.
Yeah.
Africa Connect, we can do video or teleconference in this space where we connect with people maybe across Africa.
Yeah.
And say, today let's discuss the role of the youth. And we discuss and we harness and we invite investors to listen to the ideas, and then we follow up with ideas. So this space can be where you create and harness and finance ideas. We talked about mindset change. Africans not waiting to move out of Africa. So our mindset, we need to be in this space and talk about mindset change. What's the African identity? What's our story? What do we rewrite? What's our oral history? What is our cultural history? What do we need to be proud of? Our rivers, our mountains, our very being of being African. We discussed that from a cultural, historical perspective. And so we did the diaspora and what they can give back. So youth, Africa Connect, the Business Connect, and all that. I think this space is a very fertile opportunity, which I think people will begin to give us ideas, and we can always come back. It could be a weekly conversation, it could be a fortnightly conversation, but we don't need to lose the opportunity to build Africa via the power of ideas, the power of connecting, and the power of believing in our identity.
Amazing. Yes. I think we will close on that point, because I don't want to come in on top of that. You have said so eloquently, we need that kind of connection. We need to start connecting and start speaking these things. And there's a lot of opportunity that we can have as part of this discussion. So thank you so much, Doc, for coming through.
Pleasure.
and for sparing your time from your busy schedule to discuss this.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Great. So, colleagues, this is Africa Podcast, and until next time, happy that you tuned in and subscribe, be part of these discussions. If you want to reach out, I think there's an email somewhere there. You can reach out to, I think it should be podcast@higherafrica.net. So happy to connect with you and hear the thoughts, but also amplify this kind of conversation. So until next time, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.